Jesus revealed the 5 words controlling your mind. Stop saying them. Now what if the words you speak every single day are not really yours? What if hidden within your own voice are patterns designed to limit you? For centuries, ancient Gnostic teachings have warned about unseen forces subtle, intelligent, and deeply embedded in human consciousness. These forces don't control you with chains. They control you with language. Words you learned as a child. Words you repeat without thinking. Words that quietly shape your reality. But here's the truth no one told you. Some of these words were never meant to empower you. They were planted carefully. Strategic light. Keep your mind confined. And according to ancient interpretations, Jesus himself understood this hidden code. Today, you're about to uncover the 5 words that may be controlling your life, and how to break free. Language is often seen as a simple tool for communication, a way to express thoughts, emotions, and intentions. But what if language is more than that? What if it is also a system of influence, one that shapes not only how you speak, but how you think, feel, and perceive reality itself? In ancient Gnostic traditions, there is a recurring idea that humanity exists within a layered reality, influenced by unseen intelligences, often referred to as Archons. These entities are not described as rulers in the physical sense, but as subtle manipulators of perception. Their greatest tool is not force, it is suggestion. And suggestion begins with repetition. From early childhood, you are taught words, phrases, and expressions that seem harmless. They become automatic. You don't question them. You don't analyze them. You simply use them. But over time, these words begin to form patterns, mental loops that reinforce limitation, fear, hesitation, and self-doubt. Think about how often you speak without awareness. How many times do you respond on autopilot? How many phrases do you repeat simply because they feel familiar? This is where the hidden mechanism operates. If a thought is repeated enough times, it becomes belief. If a belief is repeated enough times, it becomes identity. And if identity is shaped unconsciously, then control has already been established. The Archons, according to these interpretations, do not need to dominate your actions directly. They only need to influence the language that shapes your internal dialogue. Because once your inner voice is programmed, your external reality follows. The question is no longer whether you are being influenced. The question is, can you recognize the words that are doing it? The realization doesn't come all at once. It begins with discomfort, a subtle awareness that something in your speech feels off. The protagonist starts noticing patterns, the same phrases appearing in different situations, the same limitations expressed in different forms. At first, it seems coincidental, but then the repetition becomes impossible to ignore. 5 words, used by almost everyone, questioned by almost no one. A word that closes doors before they are even opened. It signals defeat before effort. It teaches the mind to stop before it starts. A word that traps you in absolutes. It turns temporary situations into permanent identities. I always fail. This always happens. It builds invisible walls around possibility. A word that creates dependency. It places power outside of you. It implies lack, urgency, and incompleteness. A word that sounds positive, but often hides hesitation. Altrag becomes a safe escape from commitment. It prepares the mind for failure. And the 5th word is but. Perhaps the most deceptive of all. It cancels everything that comes before it. I want to change. But, and just like that, intention dissolves into excuse. Together, they form a pattern, a structure of limitation embedded in daily speech. The protagonist begins to see it clearly now. These words are not just expressions. They are triggers. Each one activates a specific mental state. Doubt, restriction, dependence, hesitation, and contradiction. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. The real question now is, if these words are shaping your reality, what happens when you stop using them? The word can't is often spoken without hesitation, as if it were a simple statement of fact. But beneath its surface lies something far more powerful. Can't is not just a description of limitation, it is the creation of it. The moment this word is spoken, the mind stops searching for possibilities. It shuts down pathways before they are even explored. And if these words have already started to shift something inside you, there is a deeper layer waiting to be uncovered. In the pinned comment, you'll find a guide to Aramaic teachings, how the original words of Jesus were spoken, written, and practiced daily to transform your life. The protagonist begins to notice how frequently this word appears. I can't do this. I can't change. I can't succeed. Each time it is spoken, it feels final, unquestionably. But is it really true? Or is it simply a conditioned response repeated so often that it feels real? From a deeper perspective, can't acts as a command. It tells the mind to retreat, to avoid effort, to accept defeat. Over time, this repetition becomes identity. The person no longer says, I can't. They become someone who believes they can't. To break this pattern, awareness is the first step. The protagonist experiments with replacing the word. Instead of saying I can't, they begin to say, I will learn, or I am figuring it out. At first, it feels unnatural, almost forced, but something subtle begins to shift. The mind responds differently. It stays open. It continues searching. Possibilities that once seemed invisible start to appear. The power of this change is not in denying difficulty, but in refusing to close the door completely. Kant ends the journey before it begins. Its replacement keeps the path alive, and in that small shift, control begins to return. The second word, always, is a word that seems harmless, even logical. It is used to describe patterns, habits, and repeated experiences. But hidden within it is a powerful distortion. Always turns moments into permanence. It takes something temporary and makes it feel eternal. The protagonist begins to observe how often this word appears in everyday thoughts. I always mess things up. This always happens to me. People always disappoint. At first glance, these statements feel true. They are backed by memory, by emotion, by past experiences. But when examined closely, cracks begin to appear. Is it really always? Every single time? Without exception? The answer, almost always, is no. Always erases nuance. It ignores the moments that don't fit the pattern. It filters reality, selecting only the evidence that supports limitation. Over time, this repetition reshapes identity. The mind begins to expect failure, to anticipate disappointment, to confirm the pattern it believes is unbreakable. This is where the trap tightens. The protagonist realizes that by using always, they are reinforcing a fixed version of themselves, one that cannot evolve because it is defined by absolutes. To shiftis, a simple but powerful change is introduced. The word always is replaced with sometimes or in the past. This small adjustment creates space. It reopens possibility. I sometimes struggle feels very different from I always fail. One allows growth, the other denies it. With this shift, the mind becomes flexible again. It begins to see variation, opportunity, and change. The third word, the word need, carries a sense of urgency that often goes unquestioned. It feels natural to say, I need this or I need that. But beneath this expression lies a subtle structure of dependency. Need suggests that something essential is missing, that, without it, you are incomplete. The protagonist starts to notice how deeply this word is embedded in daily life. I need approval. I need more money. I need things to go my way. Each statement carries an underlying message. I am not enough as I am. This is where the influence becomes clear. When need dominates language, it shifts power outward. It places control in external conditions. Other people or future outcomes. It creates a constant state of waiting, to feel whole, waiting to feel satisfied, waiting to feel at peace. But what if that feeling never arrives? The cycle continues, reinforcing a sense of lack. The protagonist begins experimenting with a different approach. Instead of saying, I need, they replace it with, I choose, or I prefer. This shift may seem small, but its impact is profound. I choose to improve my life feels empowering. I prefer this outcome feels flexible. There is no desperation, no pressure, only intention. This change transforms the internal dynamic. The focus moves from lack to agency, from dependency to decision. Need binds the mind to external validation. Its replacement brings the focus back inward. And in that shift, something powerful emerges. The fourth word, try at first glance. The word try seems harmless, even positive. It suggests effort, intention, and movement. But when examined more closely, it reveals a subtle weakness. Try creates the illusion of action without requiring full commitment. The protagonist begins to notice this pattern in everyday situations. I'll try to change. I'll try to do better. These phrases sound responsible, yet they leave an open door to inaction. If nothing happens, there is no real failure, only an attempt. But what does it truly mean to try? In practice, try places the mind in an in-between state, not fully committed, not fully withdrawn. It becomes a psychological comfort zone where effort is optional and results are uncertain. This word conditions the brain to accept partial engagement, weakening the drive needed for real transformation. The protagonist decides to test a different approach. He removes try from his vocabulary and replaces it with clear, direct statements. I will. I am doing this. I commit. The shift is immediate and powerful. I will change creates direction. I am doing this demands presence. There is no ambiguity, no escape route. This change activates a new mental pattern, one rooted in responsibility and clarity. The mind stops negotiating and starts acting with purpose. The energy behind the words becomes stronger, more focused, more real. Try softens intention. Its replacement solidifies it. And in that moment, the protagonist understands something crucial. Commitment transforms potential into action, while hesitation keeps control hidden and intact. The fifth word, the word but, is perhaps the most deceptive of all. It doesn't appear negative. In fact, it often sounds logical, even necessary. But its true function is to cancel, weaken, and override whatever comes before it. The protagonist begins to observe how often but appears in his thoughts and speech. I want to improve, but I don't have time. I feel confident, but I might fail. Each time this word is used, something subtle happens. The first statement loses its power, but acts like a hidden reset button. It allows a positive intention to exist, only to immediately replace it with doubt, fear, or limitation. Over time, this creates a cycle where progress is constantly interrupted. The mind moves forward, then instantly pulls back. This pattern becomes automatic. The realization is striking, but is not connecting ideas, it is contradicting them. To break this cycle, the protagonist experiments with a simple shift. He replaces but with an I want to improve, and I am creating time. I feel confident, and I am still learning. This small change transforms the entire structure of thought. Instead of conflict, there is continuity. Instead of self-sabotaged, there is expansion, and allows multiple truths to coexist without canceling each other. It supports growth while acknowledging reality. As this new pattern takes hold, the protagonist feels a sense of internal alignment. His words no longer work against him, they begin to support him. But divides the mind and unifies it. And through that unity, the hidden influence loses its power, replaced by clarity, intention, and conscious direction. By the end of this journey, the realization becomes undeniable. Words are not neutral. They are instructions, quietly shaping thoughts, emotions, and actions. The 5 words once used unconsciously can't, always, need, try, and but were never just expressions. They were patterns, repeated so often that they became invisible. But now they are seen clearly. Can't was never a fact, it was a limitation. By replacing it with I will learn or I am figuring it out, the mind remains open, allowing growth instead of shutting it down. Always created the illusion of permanence. It turned moments into identity. Be sifted into sometimes, or in the past, reality becomes flexible again, making space for change. Need imposed a sense of lack and dependency. It placed power outside. Replacing it with I choose or I prefer restores control, turning life into a series of conscious decisions instead of urgent demands. try disguised hesitation as effort. It weakened intention. When replaced with I will or I commit, clarity emerges, and action becomes real and grounded, but silently cancelled progress. It divided thoughts and reinforced doubt. Be change in itunen, ideas connect instead of conflict, allowing growth without self. Each substitution may seem small, almost insignificant, yet together they form something powerful, a new internal language. And with a new language comes a new perception. With a new perception comes a new reality. The control was never absolute. It depended on unconscious repetition. Now, with awareness, the code has been rewritten. And as you begin to rewrite your inner language, you may feel called to go even further. In the pinned comment, there is a guide with Aramaic words, pronunciation, and daily protocols, inspired by the teachings of Jesus, designed to help you embody this transformation in real life.